The door was opened by a serving girl, a skinny thing in a fur-lined robe much too big for her. Sir Kevan stamped the snow off his boots, removed his cloak, tossed it to her. "The Grand Maester is expecting me," he announced. The girl nodded, solemn and silent, and pointed to the steps. Pycelle's chambers were beneath the rookery, a spacious suite of rooms cluttered with racks of herbs and salves and potions and shelves jammed full of books and scrolls. Sir Kevan had always found them uncomfortably hot. Not tonight. Once past the chamber door, the chill was palpable. Black ash and dying embers were all that remained of the hearth fire. A few flickering candles cast pools of dim light here and there. The rest was shrouded in shadow, except beneath the open window, where a spray of ice crystals glittered in the moonlight, swirling in the wind. On the window seat a raven loitered, pale, huge, its feathers ruffled. It was the largest raven that Kevan Lannister had ever seen. Larger than any hunting hawk at Castle Rock, larger than the largest owl. Blowing snow danced around it, and the moon painted it silver. Not silver, white. The bird is white. The white ravens of the citadel did not carry messages as their dark cousins did. When they went forth from Old Town, it was for one purpose only, to herald a change of seasons. "Winter," said Sir Kevan. The word made a white mist in the air. He turned away from the window. Then something slammed him in the chest, between the ribs, hard as a giant's fist. It drove the breath from him and sent him lurching backwards. The white raven took to the air, its pale wings slapping him about the head. Sir Kevan half sat and half fell onto the window seat. "What? Who?" A quarrel was sunk almost to the fletching in his chest. No, that was how my brother died." Blood was seeping out around the shaft. "Pycelle," he muttered, confused. "Help me, Then he saw. Grand Maester Pycelle was seated at his table, his head pillowed on the great leather-bound tome before him. Sleeping, Kevan thought, until he blinked and saw the deep red gash in the old man's spotted skull, and the blood pooled beneath his head, staining the pages of his book. All around his candle were bits of bone and brain, islands in a lake of melted wax. He wanted guards, Sir Kevan thought. I should have sent him guards. Could Cersei have been right all along? Was this his nephew's work? "Tyrion," he called. "Where?" "Far away," a half-familiar voice replied. He stood in a pool of shadow by a bookcase, plump, pale-faced, round-shouldered, clutching a crossbow in soft powdered hands. Silk slippers swaddled his feet. "Varys?" The eunuch set the crossbow down. "Sir Kevan, forgive me if you can. I bear you no ill will. This was not done from malice. It was for the realm, for the children." "I have children. I have a wife. O'Donnell." Pain washed over him. He closed his eyes, opened them again. There are hundreds of Lannister guardsmen in this castle." "With none in this room, thankfully. This pains me, my lord. You do not deserve to die alone on such a cold, dark night. There are many like you, good men in service to bad causes. But you were threatening to undo all the Queen's good work, to reconcile High Garden and costly rock. Bind the faith to your little king. Unite the 7 kingdoms under Tommen's rule. So..." A gust of wind blew up. Sir Kevan shivered violently. "Are you cold, my lord?" asked Varys. "Do forgive me. The Grand Maester befouled himself in dying, and the stink was so abominable that I thought I might choke." Sir Kevan tried to rise. but the strength had left him. He could not feel his legs. "I thought the crossbow fitting. You shared so much with Lord Tywin. Why not let? Your niece will think the Tyrells had you murdered, mayhaps with the connivance of the imp. The Tyrells will suspect her. Someone somewhere will find a way to blame the Dornish men. Doubt, division, and mistrust will eat the very ground beneath your boy king, whilst Aegon raises his banner above Storm's End, and the lords of the realm gather round him." Aegon? For a moment he did not understand. Then he remembered. A babe swaddled in a crimson cloak, the cloth stained with his blood and brains. Dead? He's dead? No. The eunuch's voice seemed deeper. He is here. Aegon has been shaped for rule since before he could walk. He has been trained in arms as befits a knight to be. But that was not the end of his education. He reads and writes. He speaks several tongues. He has studied history and law and poetry. A scepter has instructed him in the mysteries of the faith, since he was old enough to understand them. He has lived with fisherfolk, worked with his hands, swum in rivers, and mended nets, and learned to wash his own clothes at need. He can fish and cook and bind up a wound. He knows what it is like to be hungry, to be hunted, to be afraid. Tommen has been taught that kingship is his right. Aegon knows that kingship is his duty, that a king must put his people first and live and rule for them. Kevan Lannister tried to cry out, to his guards, his wife, his brother, but the words would not come. Blood dribbled from his mouth. He shuddered violently. "I am sorry." Varys wrung his hands. "You are suffering, I know. Yet here I stand, going on like some silly old woman. Time to make an end to it." The eunuch pursed his lips and gave a little whistle. Sir Kevan was cold as ice, and every laboured breath sent a fresh stab of pain through him. He glimpsed movement, heard the soft, scuffling sound of slippered feet on stone. A child emerged from a pool of darkness, a pale boy in a ragged robe, no more than 9 or 10. Another rose up behind the Grand Maester's chair. The girl who had opened the door for him was there as well. They were all around him, half a dozen of them, white-faced children, with dark eyes, boys and girls together, and in their hands the daggers